You're this perp back with another video, and I just got out of watching A Complete Unknown. This is directed by James Mangold, which I just figured that out just recently, which is crazy. This is starring Timothy Chalamet. And Timothy Chalamet has had an incredible year, man. Just the last three movies, this included. Dune Part 2 at the beginning of this year. At the end of the year, he has Wonka, so he is just on a crazy generational run right now. He plays Bob Dylan in this, and me not being a huge fan of Bob Dylan, I don't know too much about him. I saw him on The Biggest Night of Pop, and he ended up being one of my favorite parts of that documentary. But I know a lot of people know his music. I've heard some of his songs, but I'm just not really deep in the know or the knowledge of just his him as an artist and stuff like that. So going into this, it was interesting. I was more so looking forward to just seeing what Timothy Chalamet was going to do, because I just become a huge fan of him as an actor. So going into this, it was really interesting and unique, and you learn a lot about just Bob Dylan's character and just what I've seen of Bob Dylan and stuff like that. I feel like Timothy nailed it, the mannerisms, because when I was watching the documentary, The Biggest Night in Pop, whatever, what I noticed about Bob is he's a very socially awkward person, and I think Timothy really nailed that. But this is really about Bob and just his rise to fame, what labels and stuff like that expect out of him switching up his style, going from this folk music to more electric blues, I think they would say, or rock and roll. Is him just kind of switching up his sound is really interesting, and him also dealing with his love life. You have Ella Fanning in here playing Sylvie. That's his first love, the first person that you see him with. And then you have Monica Barbaro. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. If I mispronounce it, please forgive me. But she's amazing in this. She's also another folk singer that Bob ends up having a relationship with. Her name goes by Joan. That whole aspect was interesting. You know what I'm saying? How he'd go back and forth between the two, and him kind of dealing with this fame. It's a lot of fame. A lot of people have gone crazy, even though I think they could have done a little bit of a better job of displaying that. Obviously, you didn't have to go too crazy, because this is the 60s and stuff like that, but just how people would girls would go crazy for him, and just he has this huge fan base. And it's really interesting to kind of see his rise, and just how he came out of just the 60s. And the 60s was such a time for the country where just everything was kind of shifting. Whenever we get these generational shifts, or when you think you feel like things are changing, you have these creative people coming you know out of that, whether that be musicians, actors, artists, anything, just creators in general. It's just really fascinating, that even though you had the assassination of JFK and Martin Luther King at that time, you had a lot of dope things that came out of it, or just inspired people. So that's what I kind of took away from this movie. Not only seeing just his influences, how talented Bob was, just how he never wanted to be put in this box. Even the labels wanting him to kind of stick to making the same old type of music, but he was always forward thinking when it comes to the music and his creative process. He's always doing music, you know what I'm saying? And even when you hear things on the news, he'll just instantly just come up with a song on the spot. Really dope. But really, Timothy Chalamet is really great in this. We see him singing, we see him playing guitar, the harmonica and all that stuff, and it was really just dope to see And from him to go from Wonka to Paul Atreides, now Bob Dylan, I'm just really curious to see where Timothy's whole career is gonna go, because it's like he's still young. So if he just keeps this going, it's just he's definitely gonna be going down as one of the best of all time. You know what I'm saying? He's definitely on that trajectory. But I really enjoyed this movie. It is pretty long for a biopic. You know, it's about 2 hours and 20 minutes, but I didn't really feel the runtime, to be honest. Like I said, I was really locked in from the jump. And for the people that we're going to kind of skip out on this movie, or you just are interested in a Bob Dylan story, I would say check this out. Definitely. I think this is a cool movie to watch, especially around the holidays with family and stuff. And I think this is definitely going to be for an older crowd. I saw a mixture of old and younger people in my audience. It's a smaller theater, but it kind of gives you a good feel on, who this movie is for. I enjoyed it. Overall, I think it's worth watching in theaters. If you want to wait till streaming, you can, but don't miss out on checking this out. If you get around to watching it, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.